Bluey is one of the most successful animated series of recent years. But do you know all the dark theories that might actually be true about the characters in the series?
Oh, where'd that go?
Healer Family Accident. In the episode Barnacus and Bumpy from the first season of Bluey, we see Bingo and Chile in the hospital, and the series never revealed why they were there until now. One possibility is that the Healer family was involved in a car accident and the little pup got hurt, which is why she was being observed in the hospital. First of all, we can see that Bingo had been in the hospital for some time, as the window in her room shows several gifts that her relatives and friends brought. And this is usually only done when someone stays in the hospital for more than one night. At the same time, we noticed that before this episode, every time we saw Bluey and Bingo in the car, both were in their car seats, but they only used 2-point seatbelts. And in the episodes after this day, while Bluey continued to use the same 2-point seatbelt, Bingo's car seat now always had a 5-point harness, which offers more protection for the little pup since she's smaller. The cause of all this was the car accident, which, although not very serious, required Bingo to spend a few nights in the hospital. But we know that she's doing well now, and her health seems to be 100%. Or is it? We have another theory that also involves Bingo's health. To find out all 12 dark theories about Bluey, stay tuned until the end of this video. So get ready for another episode of Cinewave. Snickers is ill. According to many Bluey fans, Bingo isn't the only character in the show who needs to go to the hospital. This is because many believe that Snickers, one of Bluey's childhood friends, has some chronic health issues, and some moments in the show reinforce this possibility. For example, in the episode The Sign, when Bluey is at school and says she's going to move away, all her classmates hug her and start howling. But notice that Snickers isn't there. Moreover, we see that the little pup wears a cap whenever possible, ever since he was just a baby. This could indicate that he can't be in the sun for some reason, maybe due to a birth defect in his skull or some accident. This could also explain his absence in the episode The Sign. Honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense. Don't you?
It's okay to cry, people cry.
Radley is adopted. We know that Bluey's paternal family is quite diverse, with each family member having completely different colors from one another, except for Stripe and Grandma Nana. Unlike Chile's family, where everyone has very similar fur tones. But even so, one family member stands out as being very different from the others. We're talking about Radley, who not only has completely light fur, unlike the rest of his family, who all have at least some dark spots, but also has much thicker fur, especially on his head. All of this makes us wonder, could Radley really be the biological child of Grandpa Bob and Grandma Nana? The dark theory suggests that, for some reason, Nana and Bob thought they couldn't have children and adopted a little orphan pup. Afterward, Nana got pregnant and had 2 more puppies, completing the Healer siblings trio. It may sound crazy, but it does make sense, don't you think? Grandpa Bob has dementia. Speaking of the Healer family, let's move on to a theory that's practically a reality. When we see the family at the beach in the episode Fairy Tale, we see that Grandpa Bob can't remember his own son's name.
What do you want, Stripe? Brad, Gerald, whatever your name is.
Moreover, when Bingo and Bluey are sharing their stuffed animals, they mention that their grandpa forgot that Bingo had even been born.
Because he forgot I was born.
All of these factors may indicate that, unfortunately, Bandit's father has a serious memory problem that could lead to dementia over time. And the fact that he has had this condition since his youth shows that it has nothing to do with the accident that caused him to lose a part of his ear. Now, let's talk about a theory that involves one of Bluey's best friends. And if you also think it's cool to have someone to play with, comment below with #friend. Judo is an orphan. Besides being Bluey's neighbor, Judo is also her childhood friend. However, despite knowing her mother, we've never seen her father at any point in the series. Additionally, the show's synopsis mentions that Wendy and Judo moved from the United Kingdom to Australia. This leads us to speculate that the reason for this move could have been the passing of Wendy's husband, who was most likely originally from the UK. Afterward, she might have returned to her homeland and bought a house next to the Healer family's home. If this theory is true, it would mean that Judo is sadly an orphan without a father. Speaking of Judo, the next theory involves the most important person in her life, her mother. Bandit cheats on Chile. A significant number of fans believe that Bluey and Bingo's dad, Bandit, might have an inappropriate relationship with Wendy, his neighbor, and Judo's mom. Unfortunately, some scenes do suggest that they share more intimacy than they should. For instance, in the episode Ragdoll, when Wendy helps the girls put Bandit into the car, we see Bandit telling her to be careful with her hands.
Hey, Wendy, watch the hands.
Later, Judo's mom squats down to help put Bandit in the car, and we see him make an inappropriate face, as if he's enjoying it. These and other moments have led some people to come up with this wild theory in their minds. But we're confident that Bandit is a good and faithful dog. The Terriers' dad abandoned them. Just like we've never seen Judo's dad, we've also never heard anything about the Terriers' father. However, in the episode Quiet Game, a character appeared that sparked theories about the whereabouts of this missing parent. In the scene where the girls and their dad go to the toy store, we see Winton's dad and his then-girlfriend holding hands across the street. They stop and put a money note into a beggar's hat. If you look closely, you'll notice that the beggar has a very similar appearance to the Terriers, with fluffy gray fur. If that really is the father of the current girlfriend's children, it would mean that at some point he abandoned his family for unknown reasons and ended up living on the streets, which would really be sad if it were true.
I get it.
Wendy has issues. If you watch Bluey, you've probably heard the phrase "Good morning, Wendy" said by several characters in the show. And while it might seem like just a simple act of politeness, it actually reveals a pattern. None of the time someone says good morning to Wendy does she ever respond back. Contrary to what you might think, Judo's mom isn't rude. The character actually suffers from a chronic issue of extreme shyness, which prevents her from even being able to say a simple good morning in return. So, this is definitely one of the most believable theories in Bluey. And now it's that moment when you stop and think, this channel deserves my subscription. So click down below and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Bandit and Chile are unemployed. After the end of the episode The Sign, we were all relieved to see that the healers didn't move away and stayed in Brisbane. But were Bandit and Chile's bosses just as happy about it? If we think about it, when the family was in the car, all their plans were centered around that new place they were going to move to. This suggests that they had already resigned from their jobs in Brisbane. And by deciding not to leave, it doesn't necessarily mean they got their jobs back, implying there's a real possibility that, at least for now, both Chile and Bandit might be unemployed. If that's the case, let's hope they find new jobs very soon. Winton's dad was cheated on. Without a doubt, the most compelling backstory in Bluey is the love life of Cornelius, Winton's dad. We even have a video that dives into all the details of this story. But amidst the many happy and sad moments that the Bulldog has experienced in his life, one of them was definitely extremely traumatic. Remember when we mentioned he was seen with his girlfriend in the episode Quiet Game? A few episodes later, in dance mode, we see the poor guy sitting alone in a restaurant, while we see his girlfriend flirting with another dog outside the post office. These images are enough to suggest that Winton's dad was likely not only cheated on, but also dumped and completely abandoned. We feel for you, Cornelius, but thankfully, you've already bounced back.
I love it even more.
Bandit and Chile are criminals. Before anything else, let's warn you that you're about to hear the craziest theory in all of Bluey. Some fans with rather wild imaginations have come up with the theory that Bandit and Chile are actually a criminal duo. The idea is that Bandit, as an archaeologist, digs up and steals valuable historical items, while Chile, who works at the airport, helps to smuggle these items out without raising any suspicion. Besides their jobs, there's nothing else to support this theory, but we just couldn't leave out what is definitely the most outlandish theory in the show. Bingo has a disease. As we mentioned in the first theory of this video, there's a significant chance that Bingo has some chronic health issue that hasn't been revealed yet. However, from the clues we've seen in the episodes, it seems likely that the little pup has a gluten intolerance. In the episode where Bandit takes the girls to school, we see him packing their lunchboxes, and we can clearly hear him say,
Gluten-free, gluten-not-free.
This suggests that one of the girls can eat things with gluten and the other can't. And given the context, it's easy to deduce that the youngest healer is probably the one with the gluten restrictions. Since this hasn't been confirmed by the series, we can consider it a theory. But we believe we'll find out if it's true soon. Now that we've finished sharing all these theories about Bluey, you can watch one of the 2 videos we're leaving on the screen for you. I've heard that both are really good, so just click on the one you want to watch first. Thanks, and see you next time!